Hello, welcome to Painting with Jasmine Rempel Art. I'm Jasmine and today I'm working on some butterfly bookmarks. I have many materials ready here, and as I paint and go along in the video I'll share with you what materials I'm using. To start, I have some Strathmore. Oh no, this is not Strathmore paper this time. I have some Windsor Newton Professional watercolor paper here. It's 140 pounds cold pressed, and what I do is I buy blocks of the paper and I cut them into bookmarks. So to do that, I basically use my ruler and I mark off every 2 inches along the bottom of the paper, and then I use a paper cutter. Mine looks like this. It's a Fiskars paper cutter, and I basically cut this watercolor paper, and I end up getting 5 bookmarks out of 1 page, and that works out really well for me because I give bookmarks away a lot as gifts. I have adhered my paper to a canvas board which I painted black some time ago. This paper is basically 2" by, I believe, 7" 2 by 7. I'll just measure that to be sure. Yep, 2 by 7. And I have adhered it to the board just simply with some painter's tape, which I got on Amazon. And I'm using a bone press right now to press down along the edge, along the border, so that if I get watercolor on the border, it doesn't seep under the tape. Okay, so I'm ready to go. You can see that I have sketched on some butterflies on both bookmarks, and I sketched them in a composition basically where they would be seeming to fly in an S shape. So I have one body going this way, another this way, and another this way, and that tends to be pleasing to the eye to have a composition in an S shape. With these butterflies, I kind of labored over the sketches, and I even really formed the thoraxes and the heads and the abdomens. Whereas with these ones, I really just went loosey-goosey. I drew a line, and then I kind of just shaped the wings, and I wanted to just sort of see what ended up happening with the 2 bookmarks, one with a more labored sketch and one with more of a loosey-goosey style, to see in the end which one I liked better. For my paint, I'm using Windsor Newton Professional Level Paint, and I have here a Prussian Blue. I've got here a Permanent Rose. This is a Quinacridone Violet, and this is a Windsor Yellow. So those are the colors I'm planning to use today. So I'm going to begin. You'll need to, of course, to sketch on your butterflies before you start to paint. I won't demonstrate how to sketch the butterflies because, again, they're pretty, you can go pretty simple with butterfly wings. Okay, so I'm starting with wet on wet, and I'm going to start with this bottom butterfly on the right hand side, and I'm just going to get the wing wet with water. I'm using a number 4 brush, and this brush is from it's a Silver Black Velvet series, and I quite enjoy using these. It has a very fine tip so that I can get in little areas, and it holds water and pigment beautifully. It tends to keep its shape with use. I've had this since, oh gosh, I think I've had this set for a year now, and they're still working great for me. Okay, so that wing is nicely saturated. I see a lovely sheen of water on there. Let's move this board so you can see that as well. You can see there's a sheen of water just in the shape of that wing. It's not so wet that the water is running out. It's not a big pool of water, but now that it's nice and wet, I want to apply some wet color in here so that the water will and the color will, the wet paint will move along on this wet water. So I'm reaching into my Prussian Blue, and I'll just get a nice little pool there. I'm going to dilute it a little bit with water, and I'll just touch it here to see what color I'm going to get. I'll dilute it a little more, and then I'll just tap it in the edge of the wing and watch it bleed in towards the middle. There we go. All right, now I've got that blue on the edge of the wing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reach for this permanent rose and make a nice little wet pool here. And I'm going to tap that in down below, and you can see it moving upwards as it runs quite beautifully along the water. And of course I'm using my brush to encourage it along the way. Cleaning off my brush, you can see there's that big white shape in the center, and I really don't want a big white shape in the center, so I'm going to take a little bit of that pink, and I'm going to take a little bit of that blue, mix them together, and that's a nice little purple, and I'll just tap some of that in. It's the combination of the two colors. So that will be quite lovely. Now I'm using the tip of my brush and just gently blending them together. When you see me run my brush along my paper towel, it's because I want less water on my brush. All right, I like that. That looks good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reach into my kosher salt. I'm just going to apply a few granules of salt on this wing, not very many. And kosher salt I use when I do watercolors. It is bigger granules than table salt, but table salt definitely would do the effect if you're wanting to try that out. All right, I'm going to move into my next wing here, and then I'm going to try it over here, but in a much more less controlled style. And just, this is kind of my being careful and my letting go. So again, I'm wetting that wing as I did before, wanting it to have a nice sheen on top of the paper, not so much that it's running off the paper or out of my shape, but not so little so that it becomes dry when I want to paint it, because I want to do wet paint on wet paper, not wet paint on dry paper, at least at this point. All right, great. Let's reach in for that blue. And again, we'll just tap along the edge. Now, of course, this wing is going off the page, so the edge is right on the tape. Okay, bring that down. There we go. And reaching into that pink, permanent rose, the official name for it. And let's bring that here. And just as I did before, I'm going to reach into this purple. There's not as much left, but there's enough to apply into these colors and persuade them to blend a little bit together with that tip of my brush. There we go. Got some color. Oh, I can see how the salt is taking effect there. It's really pretty. Let's get a few granules in this side as well. Not too many, just a few. All right, so as I said, I'm moving into the left one and water. This time I'm just going to drop paint in more randomly and see what happens. There we go. I've got some nice wet paint ready there, and just tap that in around the edge, and it's already moving its way in. Nice. And get that pink, a little bit of nice wet pink, and same thing, tapping. It's bleeding upwards, doing its job. And the two, one, take a little more of the other. Oops, that's quite a lot. There we go. And there's more of a pink purple there. Take a little more blue, and there we go. Let's tap that in. And I'm just going to leave that. It's actually hard for me to just leave that because I'm wanting to help it blend. The only thing I'm going to do is just get the edge and carry it out to the edges. I'm going to let the blend happen all on its own. Good. All right, put a little bit of salt and let it be. Move into the other side, same thing. Water. When I paint, I tend to do a lot of experimenting. I've been using watercolors for about 2.5 years now, and before that I painted with acrylics. So I'm still learning about watercolor, and kind of my philosophy is to play. When I did acrylic paintings, I tended to have a particular client in mind, which was nice. Lots of commissions, and therefore it wasn't so much playing, it was more creating for others for a specific purpose. And so at times I felt a little uptight while I worked. It wasn't always for myself. And so when I moved into watercolor, it was more of kind of a therapeutic slash, yeah, it was more therapeutic. It was more relaxing, more for me, more playful, a little more joyous. So that's been my philosophy ever since. And I never aim for perfection. I just aim to have joy and have fun. And that's what I hope that you're kind of getting out of this tutorial, that feeling of just experimentation and exploration. All right, let's let these ones just kind of do their thing, except around this edge, I would like to straighten it out a little. Other than that, it can blend on its own. All right, so I'm going to do these bottom wings. I'm concerned that you might not be able to see the sketch well on the bottom wings, because after I did it, here we go. Let's just make it darker. After I did it, I kind of dabbed it out with my kneadable eraser, which is that. So there we go. Now I think you can see it better. I'm learning to do tutorials. I do them because I've appreciated learning from others, so I wanted others to learn from and with me. Therefore, if you are still with me now, and I would love some feedback on what your experience is as you're being a part of this process. You can write me a message directly on this tutorial. I also have a Facebook account. It's Jasmine Rempel, and I'm on Instagram, so I'd be happy to hear from you on any of those places. Jasmine Rempel Art for Instagram and just Jasmine Rempel for Facebook. I've linked those in the description of this YouTube tutorial. Or I will link it. I haven't yet. There we go. Persuade those to meet. Meet in the middle. And help the edges a little bit. How pretty. Pretty, pretty. I'm not going to put salt this time. I'll just have that in the forewings. And there we go. Nice and saturated down in that area. Get that Prussian blue. I like Prussian blue because it is so dark. So when I want salt effects, it's a great color that to allow the beautiful white to show. I use it a lot, the Prussian blue, in my winter cards, my winter watercolor cards. If you want to see some of those, they're in my YouTube channel. Snowmen, really. Snowmen or snowflakes. Prussian blue works well for salt effects. All right, let's encourage this to blend. Help that edge a little. Oh, wow. Very pretty. All right, move to this side. It's definitely a bit wilder, and the salt effects have spread a lot farther than on this side. Interesting. Okay, again, you know, I think part of the reason why is I put more water down on my brush. Oh, it's still a little wet, and that salt is bleeding into the next wing, but that's okay. I am all good with that. In fact, I think I'm going to let the border of this wing bleed out as well. So I put a little more water down. There's my Prussian. Check it out. Good. Tap it in. Even better. Reach for that pink. Tap it in. And the purple, I keep having to mix some. I didn't use this purple for, I can't really say why, I just didn't. And there we go. And that's it. That's all I'm doing, except I've cleaned my brush, I've dried it off, and now I'm coming along to help that edge a bit. It's not super bumpy. Now, I said I wanted to do some bleeding out, so watch this. I've cleaned my brush. It is damp, and I'm just going to run it along the bottom, touch it to where that wet paint is, that wet pigment. Not too much water, and you can see what's happening. That pigment is bleeding out, running along the bottom here. And I actually want that because I'm aiming for a loose look in here, and that is giving that loose look, that bleeding out effect. All right, next wing, and a little more water on this side than the right side. A little more of a puddle. Right, here comes my blue. Taparoo with the blue. You can tell I'm a primary school teacher. I taught kindergarten for 5 years and grade 1 for, oh gosh, how many years? Not sure. Basically grade 1, 2, and 3 for the rest of my career. And that's been, this year is my 16th. So 11 years for the other grades. I'm teaching a grade 2-3 class this year. I'm really enjoying them. And yes, they do a lot of watercolor. And they don't mind that. Okay, here we go. Let that do its thing. Try not to control it too much, except that edge here. And I don't think I'll have this side bleed out. Okay, there are two beautiful butterflies flying along. It's time to move into the second two. And I'm basically going to do the same thing I did here, except with different colors. And the same thing here with different colors. So I'll start in real time for part of the process, and then I will go to time lapse for the rest of the process of this butterfly. So let's start together. All right, I'll go into this top wing and getting it wet just so there's a sheen. There we go. Now this time, I think I will use this purple. This again was Quinacridone Violet. It's more of a red violet, as you can see. And I think I'll start from the center and tap that up. Wow, very pretty. And I think what I'll do is let it meet that Prussian Blue. Nice. You can see that little white area in the center. I think I'll leave that. That's a nice effect. Not a planned one, but there it is. And I won't put salt this time because I've got that white area. Let's see, it might end up filling in, but for now, there it is. And same thing up above. I have a bit more color in my water. I think I might change my water right now while I'm thinking about it. There's a different jar. There's some fresh, clean water. There we go. Getting that pigment, or that water in, not pigment, for my wet on wet effect. Nice little shine. Nice little sheen. And what a beautiful color this is, going back into that Quinacridone Violet. Wow, watch that run. So pretty. Love that, love, 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 love that. Good. All right, let's clean off our brush and go into the blue. And from the top. There it comes. Bringing it down. Good, and not all the way because I will have that white area in one of them, and it would be nice to repeat that on the other. Very pretty. All right, other side. Oh, I did say I was going to go into time lapse. Well, the other side, I am going to do the same, but I'm going to have more water. Actually, I'm not going into time lapse quite yet. Let's put more water here. I'll do that for the bottom two wings. Good. And tap, tap, tap. Spread, spread, spread. Amazing. Wow. More water made it go a long way. The blue. Tap, tap, tap. Spread, spread, spread. Not as much as that purple. Interesting that it ran a lot more. Different pigment. Now I am going to end up getting a bit of a, what's called a bloom there, and that will be interesting. Helping the edges. Good. Let's do our next one. Water. A little bit more than on this side is what I have. And tap, tap, tap. Run, run, run. Bleed, bleed, bleed. Wowie. Gorgeous. And the blue. Backing up the water. And let's get those edges. There we go. Interesting. I'm wanting to blend here, but I'm not. All right, I'm going to time lapse now for the bottom two wings. All right, there we go. I think I should remove some of the salt. Love that. And some of the salt here. Fun. Okay, now let's get our top butterflies done. I went over the sketch a little darker for you to see. And I'm going to use the Windsor Yellow with the permanent rose for this. So let's work on getting that wet. Of course, after my painting is done, I will be erasing these lines, the graphite lines, the pencil lines. I still have my number 4. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've been using it the whole time. Yes, I have. I will be using a rigger brush for the antennae, and probably a number 2 for the body. So, here's some fun, a brand new color. Let's reach into this Windsor Yellow. It's going to be very bright. Let's start it from the center and let it run upwards, and it really, really wanted to do that. Nice. And let's grab that beautiful permanent rose and get that along the edges. And there we go. Bring it in a bit, I might get a little heart shape. And Valentine's is just around the corner. There we go, I love that. Very pretty. And on the other side as well. I'm hoping I pressed hard enough on the bone press that I'm not going to get bleed on the borders. I like to have a nice white crisp border, even on a bookmark, because it kind of feels like, well, the bookmark is a little painting, which it is. Okay, get that bright yellow. This one will be the center of focus. It's so strong. Oh, it was quite dilute, so I cleaned my brush a bit. I'm persuading it upwards, as it didn't run as much as the other one. A little more color, and good. Going into my pink. And most of the edge of the wing is actually off the paint. It would be about here. So I'm not going to be putting that much pink, just enough to suggest that it is there. Probably a little bit down into this area. Yep, there. Now I have painted on my tape so that I found where I needed the pink to go. Okay, bring it into here as well. This was my more controlled one. Okay, good. Certainly have the heart feeling there, the heart shape. I feel like I just want to tap a little more. Just tapping a little more there. Nice. It's starting to dry, so I won't fuss with it too much more. Let's go to the other side. Some water and a little more water than I had on my right side again. Into my Windsor. There. Start a more dilute Windsor pool there. Okay, center. And tap, 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 tap. And it's just running up to the top. Rose. Test it. Good. And again, tapping, tapping. Do my edges. Oops, I knew that was going to happen. I had a droplet up here on the brush and I was thinking, you need to get tissue and deal with that droplet. And I didn't. So the droplet ran down into the pigment. So it's going to be super wet. That's okay. It actually was turning out a lot like this one. So now it's got a lot of water in there. So it's a little more of that, I guess, loose effect I was going for. Okay. Tap, 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 run, run, run. And some more. I've got a lot of water in here and I'm going to just clean off the droplets. I'm hoping you can hear me. If you are still with me in this tutorial, I got a little mic to speak into because I get very quiet sometimes. I'd love to know what you're hearing. I'd love to know the quality of the sound. I'd love some feedback on that. Got a little distracted. My husband just came in the door downstairs. And the first thing I thought was, oh, you're probably with this new mic gonna hear his footsteps stepping up the stairs. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to do the same thing on time lapse for the bottom ones. Well, that's nice and dry. Let's get the bodies done. For the bodies, I'm just going to use the same colors that I used in the wings, but I'm going to do this with a number 2 brush. So I will do my blue and my purple for this body. Here's the blue. And this time I'm painting wet on dry. So definitely a lot more control with this. My brush is wet with my pigment and the paper's dry. There we go. There's one little butterfly body. I don't think I'll put the purple in there. I'll just let it be blue. And this one, let's go with a pink and a yellow mixture. It's going to be an orange coral body. I have too much, it's too wet, so I just took a bit off on my paper towel. head, the thorax, or the abdomen, I should say. Good. And last one. Let's go with that pink and some of the blue. And we've got our purple mixture here. Start with the abdomen, the forewings and the hind wings both attached to the abdomen. There's our little head, and there's our nice long abdomen. Nice. Okay, so next I have this liner brush, or this #1 rigger brush, and I'm going to do some antennae. So for the antennae, I'm going to use the Prussian Blue in, let me think about it. Last time I did this, I used Payne's Gray, and I don't have any available, so that's okay. Let's go with the same color we have here, which is that orange, but I'm gonna mix it into the Prussian Blue there, and I will get a gray, kind of an orange gray. A little more of the orange. I'm just mixing up blue with the orange. There we go. There we are. Perfect. I like that. And this time we want that blue with this purple that we've used here, and there we go. And running out of Prussian Blue. Good thing we're near the end of this. I think I'll just reach into this purple. There. Super. Over here, I'm going to be even more simple. I'm not going to outline all the bodies. I'm just going to suggest a body like that because it's my loosey-goosey one. Suggesting a body. That. It would be nice if it was attached. So let's attach it right there. There. And one more time. Really just using a mixture of the colors I have around me and a little suggestion of a body. Now we want some antennae. One set, 2 sets, and last set coming in. There we go. The next thing I want to do is do a bit of splattering. So I'm getting yellow on my #4 brush, and I'm going to do some splattering up here, down here, this side, and some of my nice pink. Good. And then I'm pretty much out of blue, but I'll take what I can get here. Kind of a bluish purpley. Do a little more. Gives a feeling of movement. Okay. Fun, fun, fun. Going to sign these. I actually have some splatter here, but that's all right. There's a JR for Jasmine Rimple. And here's another one. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to blow dry it. And I'm going to blow dry the edges of the tape so that I can peel off the tape without ripping the paper. And then I'll come back to you. All right, so I've got my kneadable eraser. This is all dry and I've removed the tape. I'm just going over it to erase any pencil lines. Oops, I have to be a little careful here. That's okay, it's a bit bent, but I press them down under heavy books. And actually what I also do with my bookmarks is I laminate them and I add a tassel to them. I won't be doing that on this tutorial today. But what I can do is I can trim the edges. So I'm just going to get my edge trimmer. Or not. I am not going to get my edge trimmer because I believe I brought it to my classroom. So it's in my classroom, but ultimately I have a little edge trimmer that can make a curved edge. And that can be very pretty. All right, so I'm just going to compare the two of them. Here's the one on the right. So pretty. So light and pretty. And the one on the left. Pretty too, and definitely a bit looser. Of the two, I prefer this one. But somebody might prefer this one because art is so subjective. Now, I'm pretty much finished. Something though that could be done if you went this far is you could use your liner brush and add some more, add some details, some patterns, a few extra lines, or sometimes I use this Aqua-Bronze metallic and I might outline a butterfly's wing here and there or inside with some gold, and that can be really pretty as well. Thank you for joining me today. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to my channel and you'll see some more, and let me know. I'd appreciate it with a like or a comment. I'm hoping to be able to do more tutorials, and it's nice to know that someone's still out there and watching and enjoying them. Happy creating. Bye for now.